Thank you for joining me for this important discussion about small group ministry and what that looks like in the life of a healthy church. If we desire to build thriving small groups in our churches, let's face it, it's not going to be easy. It will require a commitment to the long haul. We need major determination. It will necessitate willingness to commit resources. It may even require disappointing the guardians of the status quo. If you believed that unconnected people are always one tough thing away from being part of the church, well, then let's face it, our paradigm, it's got to change, right? It's got to shift. If you want to connect far beyond the usual suspects and even beyond your average weekly worship attendance, our perspective, well, that must be recalibrated. A commitment to building a thriving small group ministry is a non negotiable. When we have clarity about the end in mind, we'll be able to recognize the paths that don't get us there. Describing a detail, a picture of the preferred future is essential. Make no compromise, take no shortcuts. As Cheshire Cat said to Alice in that tailed book, Alice in Wonderland, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. Knowing the end in mind is essential. Without knowing the real truth about where you are right now, designing the path that leads from here to there will be an elusive dream. Brutal honesty about here and now, then, it is essential. While the details about the current state of your small group ministry include quantitative things such as the actual number of groups and active members in them, they also include the qualitative things like whether your group leaders are really making disciples and if life change is actually occurring in your small groups. The big question is, what will you call a win? According to Peter Drucker, very few things are as important as determining what you will call success. Andy Stanley calls clarifying the win one of the 7 practices of effective ministry. Doing the hard work of grappling with what you will call a win, it's not a nice extra thing for you to do if you have some time. It is at the essence of building a thriving small group ministry. And it's not enough to clarify the ultimate win or what that looks like to arrive at your perceived or preferred future. Building a thriving small group ministry, well, it requires clarity about the smaller wins along the way. And really, this then leads to the preferred future. It's all about the steps, not the programs. Programs don't lead to the perceived future, a thriving small group ministry, but well designed, handcrafted, tailored steps lead from where you are to where you want to go. So if you want to build a thriving small group ministry, we've got to talk a minute about design. We've got to make that design easy and really got to make sure that there are some clear, obvious strategic steps that lead to that preferred future. Anything, any program, any Bible study, class, any ministry that doesn't lead to the preferred future, it's not a step. In fact, then it is a distraction. So, how do we narrow our focus? How do we eliminate all but the best steps? Building a thriving small group ministry, well, it requires the discipline of saying no. You've got to be able to say no to the programs, the ministries, classes that don't lead in the direction that you want to go. That same discipline allows you to say yes to draw attention to the steps that lead you to where you want to go. Few things we'll ever do are as difficult and as challenging as saying no to good things that just simply aren't the best things. Nothing is more satisfying than helping people step onto the path that leads only to the preferred future. To build a thriving small group, resources must be allocated to the critical growth path. Choosing a preferred future is one thing. Allocating limited resources to get to the preferred future is what demonstrates conviction. Budget, key staff, volunteer, space, promotional bandwidth, and the senior pastor's attention are just a few of the most important resources. Carl George shares that leaders allocate the finite resources to the critical growth path. We must commit to the long haul. The journey to build a thriving small group ministry, it happens over many seasons. It's something that happens as a result of years of resolve and steadfast commitment of the church itself. If you want to build a thriving small group ministry, you got to know it's hard work, and it's not just simply for one season. It's not just for the fall and then counting on inertia to keep things moving in the right direction. Instead, it requires constant application of attention to sustain momentum. Building this kind of ministry, it's not a sprint, but really it's a marathon. If you want to arrive at the finish line, you've got to be willing to commit to the long haul. You need to keep your eye on the preferred future, maintaining focus on the end in mind to cast vision for the promised land is really a non negotiable. And it's not easy. We need to keep in mind this nature of building a thriving small group ministry. It doesn't happen overnight. But there will be, let's face it, steadfast pressure to focus on something else that's on the calendar for the year. It's going to be tempting along the way to settle for something less than a thriving small group ministry. Taking our eyes off the preferred future always leads to drift, and drift rarely arrives at the destination of choice. Keep your other eye really on the very next milestone. Milestones that are clearly visible in the near future enable your team to stay focused and stay encouraged. Milestones can be quantitative. For instance, a number of groups or a percentage of connected statistics. Milestones can also be qualitative with little effort, like capturing life-changing stories, folks involved in Bible study, monitoring feedback information from individuals. The objectives that must be accomplished to reach the next milestone are the kind of things that keep teams focused. Celebration, it's a non-negotiable. We need to be able to celebrate milestones reached and wins experienced. As humans, we're designed to crave intimacy, feel connected with those who are around us. According to Dr. Lumbrersky, surrounding ourselves with people who support, value, and love us creates stronger internal confidence in everything that we do. As a church, I believe we've got a unique opportunity to create this kind of confidence, this God confidence within our members. One way we do so is by establishing dynamic church small groups that pour into the lives of each other. By creating groups that are focused on encouraging one another and pointing each other to Jesus Christ, you can build a group of confident, Jesus-loving people. By focusing on these things, it's going to allow us to build thriving small groups in our churches. Building this kind of ministry, it really is an important aspect of the life of the church. We as leaders, we must create a healthy environment for this to occur. We are called to help create healthy communities of faith. Being intentional about planting small group ministries and planning them out, it's going to foster some deep connections, some deep relationships, and lead to deeper connections with one another and certainly into the reach of our communities. May God richly bless you as you continue this important and critical area of church ministry.